वसुतन्देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरु।
ओके, और आवाज आ रहा है बराबर?
हाँ,
ओके, तो આપણે ગયા વખતે વાત કરી. I think 3 areas that I think that we have touched at different times, but not really covered as good as it should. One is what is moksha, nirvana, whatever, salvation, whatever, however you mean, whatever different theological principles are. We have talked about different schools, bhakti school, Gnan school. How do you reconcile all those different viewpoints into one integrated system? Kevala Dvaita and different schools of Vaishnavism. How do you make an integration of that? That's one area we have kind of touched different times, but not necessarily in a sort of a cohesive manner. And the third one, what is Brahman and how do you distinguish Brahman, Saguna, Nirguna, and how does it implicate in the everything else that we talked about? And I think those are the 3 things that I thought will be good to at least cover before we talk about Vaishnavism and primarily Vallabhacharya's concept, because that is a sort of a subgroup of, once you know all these basic principles, it's very easy to understand what Vallabhacharya is trying to say that is somewhat different or unique compared to everybody else. So if you agree, I think that's what I'll do. One of the common prayer we use is this: Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Nutyorma Amritgamaya. I mean, that's a typical prayer we use. So if you use a translation, basically what it says, take me from untruth to truth. Take me from darkness to light. Take me from death to immortality. That's a basic English equivalent translation. But does it really mean what it says? Or what is the deeper meaning of what it says is the key. So think about first line, Asatoma Sadgamaya. So what it says, take me from what is untrue to truth. The question is, what is truth and what is untruth? What is the implication of that? So think about it. Truth, according to Vedanta, is unchanging reality. That is an existence by itself. That is not dependent on anything else. So that is self-existent and everything depends upon it. It is a ground of existence. So it's like makan hoy, it's a foundation of the building. So that is the truth. And in the case of body, that's a truth, that is a truth relative to universe. The ground of the universe is Brahman. But if you think in terms of body or we as an individual jiva, what is our ground? Vedanta will say our ground is Brahman or Atman. So what I believe is I am a body, I am a mind, intelligent complex, is the untrue. So take me from untrue, untrue me in here it means essentially constantly changing or constantly dependent on the ground. So take me from body, mind, intelligent complex to the Atman. That is what it means. Or in the world, take me for apparent diversity of the universe. Take me to the ground where everything is one. So that is what it means. So Sat here is pure existence. Asat means apparent existence. Apparent existence as a manifestation of all of us and the world that we see. So that is the apparent universe or apparent existence. And the real existence is the Brahman in the case of entire universe, and Atman in the case of us, Jivatma. So that is the first line. Second line says, Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. What it means, take me from darkness to light. So what it means that the Brahman is a self-effulgent light. It is the one that shines on my mind. The Atman shines on my mind as a reflected light and gives me a conscious experience. But the pure consciousness is the original light. Or in the case of the universe, Brahman is the pure light that lights up the universe. So what it says is that take me from darkness to the light. That means darkness of my existence, my apparent belief in the mind and body, which does not have its own original light. Take me from that false belief to my original light, which is the Atman. That is what it means. Or in the case of universe, take me from what is inert Prakriti or inert nature, take me to the original consciousness which lights up the Prakriti or the inert substances. So take me to that point. So there's a second part. And the third line says, Nrutyorma Amrit Gamaya. So what it implies is this: the body dies. The one that does not die is the Atman. So take me from the body consciousness to the Atman consciousness, which is eternal in nature. So remove my preoccupation from my existence as a body, mind, intelligent complex to the Atman, which is never born, which is never dying. So take me to that reality, which is what this slok says. In the case of Hindu theology, and same thing with Jainism, Buddhism as well. So think in terms of Indian philosophy. The idea is this, that I exist in three forms. Sthula Sarir, which is the gross body or the physical body. Sukshma Sarir, which is the mind intelligent complex. And causal body, which is the bliss covering the Atman. So the typical reincarnation phenomenon is this: the Sthula Sarir dies, the physical body dies, the mind intelligent complex will carry over all our existing sanskara into the next life. So think about it, it's a trifecta. The body is completely dismembered and existence gone away. The mind intelligent complex moves on to take the new birth. And the bliss body, causal body, is the one that everything emanated from. So it merges back into the Atman. So bliss body is sort of a first layer covering the Atman. So just think about why it is important, so that we understand the concept of moksha. So when somebody talks about moksha, what does it mean? What the body is matter, which is inert substance. So it just basically disintegrates when the Atman leaves, the consciousness leaves the body. The middle portion, which is a Sukshma Sarir, is the one that will carry all our karmas, all our sanskara, everything that we have done, pap and punya, whatever good and bad we did, to the next life. Or if we don't get reborn again, to the proximity to the Godhead, that whatever the Godhead you believe it to be, Shiva or Bhagavan, Krishna or Vishnu or whoever. So that is the idea. So that's most important part. So Atman is something that is there like a space within the jar. The jar disappeared, Atman merged into the Brahman itself. The space within the jar merged into the space outside. Or think about a glass which is half full with the water. Half it is space, air, and half is the water. When you move the glass, the water moves with the glass, right? but the space doesn't. Space is continuum. So it is there from this space to this space. It's the same space. There is no movement of the space per se. But the glass water moves with the glass. Glass doesn't stay like space. Otherwise it will spill out, right? So think about the body and in mind and space are related to what we are talking about. So now last part is, before we go to these slides, is this. Janaben asked question about why different theologians talk about different things and why emphasis on bhakti and why emphasis on gnana in one and all those things. So let me explain that part. Just think about it. Smita wants to cook the rice. So what she needs is the fire or the gas, right? She needs the pot. She needs the water. The rice is there, but it cannot be cooked without the gas or the fire, without the pot, and without the water. All of them are prerequisite for the rice to be cooked. So idea is that all of them are equivalent to Gnan, Bhakti, and Karma Yoga, if you want to use that. And if you want to use another layer to that, like a spoon or something like a chamcho to stir the rice, if you want to do that. So you say additional one. So if you think in terms of four things, Gnan Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, and a Dhyan Yoga, Raj Yoga. Okay, so you can kind of think about all three or four are prerequisite for the rice to be cooked. The argument is this: which one is the fire, which one is the pot, which one is the water, and which one is the stirrer. So one school will say Gnan is the fire which lights up, and the rest two are supplemental. They are not primary. That was Gnan Yoga will say. Bhakti Yoga will say, argument, reverse point of view. So I will say, fire is the one that is the bhakti that lights up the heart, and you go forward with next steps. So argument is this: which one is what, and which one is the predominant from your point of view. All of them are prerequisites. So in essence, it's a combination of all the things combined to make it work to cook the rice. That's the bottom line. So having said that, we can move on to the moksha part. Yeah, go ahead. તમારો અવાજ બંધ છે.
So the overall or simplified way, Gnan Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga,
અને Raj Yoga,
and Dhyan Yoga will take the Atman to the final Brahman.
I mean, it's just an analogy. It's analogy. I mean, it's not necessarily exact. It's to explain how all those comes together to understand.
For the Atman, right? To
right, for
attain the higher Brahman.
Precisely, right, yeah.
Okay.
So when you're talking about Atman, Rajan Bhai, then you're talking individual. When you're talking Brahman is the like whole universe or universal. Correct?
Right. Well, yes, it depends upon the viewpoint. Atman from the Kevala point of view is not individual. It's like just think about, if you have a big ocean and you put a lot of pots inside the ocean or river, all the pots are full with the water.
Correct.
Each one has the same water that is outside in the other pot as well as in the ocean or in the lake.
Right.
If you think in that way, it's Kevala Advaita. The water is same, whether it's in this pot or that pot or in the outside the pot.
I see.
If you think in terms of Vaishnava school, it will say temporarily it is the water in pot X and pot in Y and pot Z.
Okay. Thank you.
But Kevala Advaita will say the same thing. What difference does it make?
Okay, got it now.
Thank you.
Let's move on to the slides now. And many of them are repetition of what we already have talked. And some of them are repetition of a repetition. But I think the key is to sort of re-emphasize, because different people have written same ideas in a different way. So I sort of combined together from different people's ideas. Many of them are repetition in a different way. So think about what is moksha, or what exactly we mean by moksha, kaivalya, nirvana, or salvation. What does that essentially mean? Two things: cessation of pain and suffering in life. So stopping the suffering in the life is one, and attainment of bliss, achieving the bliss, is the second part. So then the question comes down, what is suffering and what is bliss? And each one will define different way. All right, so think about pain and suffering, and let me just read the description and then we'll try and talk about that. It is regaining, you can read the slides, right? You can see the slides, right? All of you? Okay, even if you cannot read, you can see.
Can you make it larger, please, bigger?
હું મોટું કરું છું ને તો દિનેશભાઈ, then the picture blocks my view.
Oh, okay.
This is the maximum I can do without blocking you guys. Or no, actually I can see you, but the slide gets blocked.
Slide it.
Yeah, but you got to define the bliss and all that, right?
Right.
But
Okay, yeah, okay. No, 1 second. Let me try the maximum I can. Okay, this is the maximum I can do.
can you see?
You can see that? Okay, all right.
Next time, Rajan bhai, next time what we will do is I will reformat your slides and move it to the left. Right?
Oh yeah, that will be nice because there's a lot of space on the left. Yeah.
Right, because right now it's centered in the screen along with the
Yeah, move it on the side, right?
So what I will do is I'll just move it close to the left, maybe about an inch, flip away from the. So we'll.
Yeah, that will make a difference. Yeah.
Because we.
પણ આ જે સાઈડમાં આવે છે ને 4 સ્લાઇડ એની ઉપર બટન છે ને સ્લાઇડ ઓર આઉટલાઇન. So if you click on outline side નું જતું ને તો આખો સ્ક્રીન મળે આપણને.
Yo, wait a minute, let me try. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just thinking. Can we do that?
અમે ના દેખાવ એવી જાતનું
The only.
Okay, now I can. Oh yeah, the side one is gone. Okay, yeah, you are right.
And you can just
Okay, but let me see. I can enlarge it now a little bit more.
That's why you should keep on working.
Okay, so this is the maximum I can do with when the side one is gone now.
This is great.
All right.
Thank you.
So what is moksha? Now this is a generic definition from Hindu point of view, not necessarily sub-school of Hinduism, but general concept. It is regaining eternal happiness or blissful existence devoid of pain and suffering associated with worldly existence of the samsara, that means the world that we live in. So two characteristics: this attainment of eternal happiness or the bliss, and removal of the pain and suffering while living in this world. So that is the definition of moksha from Hindu point of view. Now, different words have been used. It is liberation, salvation, emancipation, state of perfection, enlightenment, or illumination. All of them are implying somewhat meaning this, but each one has a somewhat different explanation. But all of, when we talk about moksha, we essentially equate moksha with all of them in some fashion or the other. And then next line says, it is reverting back to the original ontological state. Now, what is ontology? Ontology means the original existence from which everything has come about. So if there was one Brahman, that is the ultimate ontology. Ontological means the ground from which everything that has sprung up. So it is reverting back to the original ontological state. Now, then the question comes down to, what is the ontological state? What does that mean? What kind of ontological state existed when we came about? We means all of us for thousands of years and this world as we see. So what must have existed in the original one? So the question that comes down to, is the original state fullness of Vedanta or emptiness or sunyata of Buddhism? That's one idea, one question. Second, is it non-dual Advaita or is it dual like Vaishnavite school or all religious schools? Basically saying, if God was one entity, did it multiply everything from one to everything else? Or he created something else like a pot maker makes a pot? Or did he come about like a spider that made the web from itself? That's a question. And the Buddhism will say, is the original ontological state is ground zero, is shunyata. There is a void. Brahman will say original ontological state. I mean, Vedanta will say original ontological state is fullness. So the argument, if you remember, long time back I mentioned, is Shankaracharya says, when you have a full half glass, Shankaracharya says, the ultimate Brahman is the full glass. And so Buddhism will say, so Buddha Bhagavan will say, ultimate is empty glass. So that is the distinction. So either we came from fullness into multiple things, or we came from emptiness into multiple things. So that is the question. So that is the ontological state. So when we talk about reverting back to ontological state, if the ontological state is not well known or understood, how do we know we revert back to what? That's the question, right? So let's move on to the next one. And stop me if you have any question. I'll otherwise move forward. તમારી લાઈન લંબા બંધ છે.
Okay, is ontological state, is it not પાંચ તત્વ? The origin.
The five elements are, all of them came from Brahman.
Right. Oh.
So the idea is the original one. Everything that is done, all the matter, five tattva is matter. So matter and the consciousness was the ultimate ontological state. The matter is an evolution, and five tattva is evolution of that.
I see. Okay.
So on the last bullet, Rajan bhai, તમે પેલું non-dual and dual લખ્યું છે, પછી કહેશો તમે અમને?
Yeah, I'll come to that point. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
I mean, this is the question that we'll try to answer. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we talked about letting go. So when I say letting go, asato maya sadgamaya, tamso maya jyotirgamaya, that means you are letting go asat, you are letting go the darkness, you are letting go everything to reach the higher state. So what are you letting go? The example story I gave you was the monkey. That monkey went through a jar and picked up a banana, but the head of the jar. Okay. Okay, so
letting go
yeah, 1 second. It's a slide moved by itself. I don't know why.
No, what it is that it's, since this is a basic, it's Sako. You have to click in the corner here, because I don't have a control of the screen, Rajan bhai. if you put the cursor right in the corner where it says running out of time, the window will go away.
Oh,
કઈ છે running?
મારામાં
Okay, all light is gone. Okay.
anyway, it's working now. Let's go back. So letting go is basically that monkey got hold of the banana, but the jar, the flask, has a very small hand, or the top is very small. So as long as he has the banana in hand, his hand cannot come out. If he lets go banana, his hand will come out. But he's so stuck with that banana that he wouldn't let it go. So he gets caught. So we are like that. That we want to experience and enjoy the world. Simultaneously, we want to experience the bliss of the moksha or the salvation. You can't have it both ways. That's the point. You have to let go the banana to be able to get your hand out. So the point it's making is this, that આપણે મધુભાઈ દયાનંદ સરસ્વતી રાખીએ છે ને book. Dyanan Saraswati wrote a book called like Introduction to Vedanta or something like that. He says something like this, that it's like an orchestra. The rhythm of the orchestra is continuously playing, I want, I want, I want. So no matter what the song is being sung, the rhythm keeps on saying, I want, I want, I want. So you try to expedite, increase the tempo of the song, I want goes faster. If you make it slower, I want goes slower. But it never leaves the I want part. The point I'm making is this: I want part of that rhythm has to let go in order to attain the bliss of moksha. That's the point I'm making, right?
Banana one is good.
You have to use the arrow key.
Yeah. Okay.
અત્યારે પહેલાનું આવ્યું.
Okay. So what it says? Let go is what? Attachment to the world and to the body mind intelligent complex. So just like monkey lets go the banana, we have to let go the attachment to the world and attachment to mind and body in order to achieve the moksha. That is the point it's making. So next line says, detachment from the external gratification and attainment of bliss is the liberation from samsara, and that is the moksha. So letting go everything else is the way to reach the moksha. And the one who is longing for that is called mumukshu. The one who has determined that he wants to reach for the moksha is called mumukshu. Okay. So Vedanta Society's motto, this is what Vivekananda wrote. Atmano moksartham jagat hitaya cha. Now that's a very, very basic question. For one's own salvation and for the welfare of the world. That is the motto of Vedanta Society. The question is twofold. One, Atmano mokshaya, we know. Now we understood. How do you get the moksha? Let go. But next line says, Jagat hitaya cha. That means for the welfare of the world. So that is another question that scriptures have argued back and forth. One idea of Shankaracharya is nivrutti from the world. Other idea of Krishna in Gita is pravrutti in the world. That you try and do everything in the world with an attached, non-attached attitude. So you do it as your duty without thinking about your personal gain. If you do that, that is for Jagat Hitaya cha. That means for the welfare of the world. Now, most of the centuries and thousands of years ago, most of the scholars in scripture did not consider Karma Yoga as equivalent to Gnan and Bhakti. They use Karma Yoga as a method of concentration to achieve either Bhakti or Gnana. Now, came around 100 years back, the most important proponent of that was Vivekananda, and after that Mahatma Gandhi. They essentially made the point is until maybe 19th century, the argument has always been which one is superior, Gnan or Bhakti. Nobody argued except Gita does, but it was in a not necessarily in theological point of view that most of the acharyas did. The Krishna does say that. Vivekananda began to emphasize Karma Yoga is equal to Gnana Yoga as well as Bhakti Yoga in achieving the moksha. And Mahatma Gandhi, entire book on of Mahatma Gandhi, which is Gita according to Gandhi, makes one point very, very clear. Niskama karma. That means work without selfish motive is the ultimate emancipation. So for him, all this bhakti and gnana were secondary. Helping the others and doing the work for others is the important, most important part. The word is nishkama karma. Doing the work without expecting something in return for your personal gain. So Vivekananda was a pioneer, call it that we want to, who sort of re-emphasized and changed the direction, saying that our own salvation and the salvation of the others or helping the others are not mutually contradictory. They are complementary in nature. So that was the idea. And that argument has been in long standing in our history. Is the nivrutti, that means withdrawing from the sansar, is the way to reach God. Or pravurti means all of us living in the world. Can we achieve the same thing what a sannyasi will achieve? Gita will say yes. Most of the scriptures were written by sannyasi or rishi who lived outside the world. So they said no, it cannot be done. Buddha had two schools called Mahayana school and Hinayana school, Buddhism. Hinayana school believed, Hina means low, Yana means path, lower pathway. They will not agree that that's what lower pathway is, but Mahayana means large, bigger pathway. So the Mahayana guys said something like this: if you concentrate on your own personal gain to get moksha, you will not gain it because you are being selfish. In order to receive the moksha, they will use word nirvana. In order to receive nirvana, not only that you must let go the world, but you must be willing to help everybody else. Hinayana school will argue that if you begin to help others, you will never ever be able to leave the world. You will never ever be able to live, and you will be tempted to be submerged in the world. So the very fact that you want to help shows is that you are attached to the world. That is the view of Hinayana school. Mahayana will say, no, wait, that's a lower path. You are only being selfish. You want to help yourself, but you don't want to help everybody else. Now that argument is also in Jainism, by the way. The story has been said something like this. Mahavir is asked by his disciple, and by the same story has been said about Buddha and his disciple too. So I don't know whether it's true, but it's probably made up the story. But the point is this: